Time now to take a little cruise on a big custom machine, Suzuki's VS1400 Intruder. Now, the Intruder first arrived on the North American custom scene back in 1985, but back then it was limited to a middleweight displacement of 700 cc's. All that changed 2 years later, when Suzuki boosted the Intruder's displacement to 1,360 cc's. That's 20 cc's more than Harley-Davidson's Blockhead Evolution. But the 1400 shares very little in the engine department with its little brother. The big one, as we like to call it, has an air-cooled front cylinder and an oil-cooled rear. It also uses 3 valves per cylinder instead of 4, and has a 4-speed transmission instead of a 5. A shaft delivers the power to the rear wheel, where you'll find a pair of preload adjustable shocks. Meanwhile, the stops are handled by a single disc up front and out back. This week we invited contributing editor Larry Strung to sample the VS1400, and in turn he invited a Harley owner to see if this cruiser really is the big one.
It's definitely a big V-twin, Dave. Take a look at it. It's got that V-twin styling and lots of chrome, and that's what I liked about this bike. The styling was really one of the best parts, and look at this muffler and the shiny chrome on the top of the engine. It's really a splendid looking bike.
Mostly it's a matter of styling. The bike's well styled and lots of chrome, lots of shiny bits and pieces. Lots of attention to detail. It seems as if they've gone to great lengths to cover every bolt head and things like that with little chrome fittings and whatnot. It's designed for the kind of person that wants to ride rather than spend a lot of time on their bike, I think. As you look at it, it's got a shaft drive, so there's very little maintenance involved there, and I guess this type of detailing with lots of nice chrome fittings and things like that, it doesn't require a lot of time and maintenance and even cleaning it up.
This engine's a lot quieter, especially at the top end. You don't have that sewing machine noise that you sometimes hear on Harleys, and you don't have the big throaty sort of loud engine noise while you're riding. And for some people that's a big advantage. This bike you could ride for a long time without being annoyed by the noise. It's a very civilized bike to ride, not much vibration, and as Larry said, it's got power to spare. I was surprised. It gets up and goes at the slightest urging. It's a very powerful, quick bike.
The most comfortable range I found with this bike was sort of between maybe 80 and 100 kilometers an hour. I found the bike to be a little bit cumbersome handling around town, and the engine does get buzzy if you try and go much more than 100 kilometers an hour.
Well, one thing I'll say in its favor, as a Harley rider, I found this bike to be a little easier to handle than a Harley. It feels lighter to me. It's a little easier to have it turn a sharp U-turn. It doesn't feel like you're going to let it go or drop it. It's quite a nimble bike.
That's right.
And I'm a bit of a speed demon from time to time, and a couple times today I gave it a good crank, and this bike performs well right up into the 140 plus range, and with some to spare. So I didn't feel constricted at any one particular speed level. It would go fast in third, it would go fast in fourth. It really often didn't matter what gear you were in. If you gave it the gas, it would respond well, and that seemed to be the thing that I came away with most of all, was how well it responded power-wise, and that's important to me and anybody who likes big V-twins.
Clutch action is actually quite good. It's a hydraulic clutch. You can see with the master cylinder here, and the levers are dog-legged, so the reach isn't so high, and of course the leverage is very, very light.
I like the controls as well, Larry. I found that the clutch and the brake were much easier than the Harley equivalent. There seemed to be lots of braking power.
Yeah. It's not the kind of bike that you just use 2 fingers on the front brake and that's it. I mean, with these type of bikes, typically you use both the front and the back brake together and quite heavily to get the bike to stop, but it does.
No question, the bike is an eye catcher, Larry, and that's one of its big features. There are a lot of bike riders like myself that are weekend bike riders, and we don't ride our bikes for 4 and 5 hours. That's when the car comes out. But for a 2-hour Sunday afternoon ride, this bike is excellent. It's just not designed for the trip to Montreal. You'll notice there isn't a windscreen, and there are limited, I guess, abilities to personalize this bike by putting on saddlebags and windscreens. I'm not sure that you would be able to do that easily. So for the long haul, you might choose another bike. But for us weekend riders, this bike performs well on the highway, and for certainly the length of time I'd be riding, it's perfect for that kind of trip. This bike is all souped up and an attractive eye catcher.
Just to recap, on the downside, Larry found the big Intruder to be slow steering. He also thought taller riders would find the riding position cramped, while Mark had trouble with the turn signal indicators and switch. On the upside, both riders were thoroughly impressed by the VS1400's custom styling. Mark gave the Intruder's low seat height a confident 2 thumbs up, and everyone loved the Suzuki's smooth, powerful V-twin engine. This really is the big one.